The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, ladies and gentlemen, is the game that just keeps on coming and coming and coming, and no matter how hard you try, it will always find a way to come back around. Praise the Skyrim. If you can't beat him, just join him. Praise Skyrim. And buy it one more time. So Creation Club has just had a brand new update leading to 12 gigabytes of update required for Skyrim Special Edition and Skyrim Anniversary Edition. And there are some quite notable improvements we're going to go through, but the most substantial that many of you are probably taking note of is the paid side of it, introducing their third attempt at paid mods. We're going to go through everything you need to know. We're going to parse through some misinformation and some misdirected anger and frustration that I've seen some rage bait YouTubers and Twitter people and other folks online try to garner attention from. We're going to pierce through all that. Stay tuned. If you like it, consider sticking around, subscribing. I'd love to have you here. So first and foremost, you can actually see that there is a substantial list of new patches and updates that were added through this. Some of them are bigger fixes, fixing crashes. There's also ultra wide monitor and official Steam Deck support, even though it did work on the Steam Deck previously. Now you got that nice officially supported sticker next to it. There is some localization fixes as well that are in there. Most of them a little bit minor, but as I assume Bethesda expects some players to come back to check out some of this content, they wanted to make sure that it had a little bit of a facelift. For some, it might be 12 years too late, and I completely understand that mentality, but for others, it's nice to see that it's getting some of this attention. Whether or not it's worth breaking your mod and load order in order to download this update, mostly for PC players, probably not, as you probably are playing with the things that you most want to have already. Now, let's not get words mixed. This absolutely 100% is a beta test to try to introduce this system for Starfield when the creation kit is inevitably released there. And as far as mod collections go and paid mods go, I guess third time is the charm, because this is the best of the systems. Just to put my ideas straight out there right off the bat, it is the best of the systems that they've tried to incorporate. And there's a couple key differences that are worth diving into. First and foremost, with the Creation Club, it is worth noting that those were third-party developers working hand in hand, or mod makers working hand in hand with Bethesda to release content. Now, Bethesda refused to acknowledge that those were actually mods, and I understand why they did that. I actually took their side on that front. It was something weirdly in between. You was getting official support and localization and everything that would need to be natively integrated into Skyrim, but it was still made by a third party. This, although Bethesda is labeling it as creations, they are paid mods. That's what they are. It is a system where reputable mod makers can contribute their mods to a paid system that then we buy Creation Club credits for to purchase those mods. As a result, these creations do not need to follow the same exact requirements that the legacy, as I will call it, Creation Club content needed to have. That means you don't need localization, which leads to more opportunity for voiceover work done in many of these mods, something that really held the original creation, the legacy Creation Club content back from those substantial DLC size expansions most of us wanted to hope for.
I'm sure you came across many trinkets and items of value, but some items you had to leave behind, yes? Shakar wishes to offer you a service.
Some other big differences is it does not need to be lore friendly, so it's feasible that something like, for example, the Forgotten City would be able to be introduced to this new paid mod system. Perhaps one of the biggest differences that could have a pretty substantial impact on how users interact with this content is that the mod makers set the price themselves from a list of set options. So I'm assuming the set options are pretty reasonable, and they just didn't want a mod author to try to charge an absurd 127 credits for one of their creations. So it's likely 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, so on and so forth. What this means is that the price to value ratio, which was always my biggest complaint about any of these systems that Bethesda has implemented, is no longer the case. And the last substantial update that I do need to make sure I mention is that when someone uploads a new mod, just like the current mods that are featured in the Creation Club that you can go see, these paid mods will not require an update for Skyrim every single time. Mod makers can rest easy, and users of those mods can sleep easy knowing that their load orders won't be completely destroyed because Bethesda implemented some new Legacy Creation Club content. So overall, some pretty substantial differences, and already there are creations that you can find online that you could sample with, one of which is the East Empire Company. This is coming from King Gath, who made some mods for Fallout 4, and they were pretty good. He made a similar one called Salvage Beacons that offered roughly the same way. This mod takes the East Empire Company and actually brings it to a more prominent role within Skyrim, where they will go out, they'll collect your salvage, and they'll bring it back. That way you don't have to haul it all around with you. There is full voice acting that's available within this mod. There's new interactions with existing characters, such as they display the Jarl of Riften that you can have a conversation with, and that's pretty cool. And one of the pros is that none of it can be AI produced content. That's one of the rules to be put in this game. That's likely as a protection against utilizing some of the voice actors in Skyrim without their permission, and ultimately that is a good thing. I don't know how Bethesda might be able to tell if someone had used AI to generate a quest storyline, for example, or to generate dialogue for the characters that they might say. Probably can't, but it's nice that Bethesda is putting their foot down and using that stance on it. Now, some of these mods that are available, you get the East Empire expansion that I was talking about. You get a list of dungeon delves that you can go into that adds 2 unique and perilous dungeons. You have a new follower that has complete voice acting. I believe it's around 1,200 lines of dialogue included for her. A new set of Thalmor robes that you could download. A player home, 2 player homes actually, and a gun. Now, as I mentioned, this is not the first, this is not the second, but this is the 3rd time that Bethesda is trying to implement a paid mods system. So there are some concerns that people might have. First and foremost, is this the death of free modding? No, actually. Now, you do have to get verified in order to be eligible to upload paid mods to begin with, and they explicitly call out in Bethesda's official FAQ that even if you are verified, that does not mean every creation you upload needs to be paid. Additionally, some of you might not remember this, but when Bethesda first tried to put out paid mods, a lot of mod authors stood up and said, no, we're never going to charge for our mods. We support free mods, we support free modding, and we do this because it's a passion of ours. We want to do this for you guys, the fans, because we enjoy it. So we're not going to charge, and that will likely happen again. So many very high quality mods will not charge unless you want to donate optionally to them through things like Nexus mods. Another major concern is seeing this marketplace get flooded with more low effort content. So if a lot of people do get approved to be partnered in this program, we're going to start to see some very similar house mods and singular dungeons and singular weapons, and those will all be charged however many dollars, and it will be a bit more rampant than what we actually got in the Legacy Creation Club, and that is absolutely a possibility. I do foresee some more entrepreneurial mod makers, if you will, trying to take advantage of this system to do the least amount of work to get the most amount of royalties possible. It will be very interesting to see this little sort of micro economy that forms as a result of people trying to make the best creation that does get featured more prominently, that does get put out there, that gets covered by mod reviewers, that gets covered on YouTube channels, and subsequently gets downloaded and paid. And that goes for the pricing of items as well. If we do start seeing tons and tons of house mods, someone decides, hey, I'm going to release mine, but it's only going to be 200 Creation Club credits because maybe more people will download it for that, and thus I'll get more royalties out of it. So this little competition that does exist will certainly be interesting to witness. My personal concern with any of these iterations has always been a matter of the pricing to value of what you are getting, especially with the Creation Club. To me, it always felt like horse armor. You get this singular new sword, you get this singular new piece of armor, and it would be charged $4 or $5 for it. And as someone who has always been against microtransactions, those freemium type experiences, I just hate them to the core of my being. I do not understand how some people spend $20, not even for a new weapon, just for a weapon skin. It completely blows my mind, and $20 is cheap for some. But the issue has always been value, and that's why I never bought into any of the Creation Club content myself. You would see a house mod that would go for sale for $5, $6, $7. I also had Hearthfire. For $5, I'd be able to get 3-player homes that were customizable by me and included some gameplay elements that I could incorporate to my playthrough. That was a lot more value than just one singular house. We have gone through several of these mods already, but we can actually see the prices. For example, East Empire Expansion, which we've talked about, costs 700 credits or roughly $7. Aquarbus, which was the singular rifle gun that can get implemented into Skyrim, and there are different types and styles that it comes in, and it also includes a 25 to 35 minute long dungeon. That is $6, so you're already seeing how people think that their work is priced differently, and that'll continue. I'm not criticizing. Again, I know how much work goes into all of this, but the value is naturally going to be in the eye of the beholder. You have this set of armor that kind of falls into what I would probably not purchase. For $4, you get some Thalmor robes with a unique enchantment on them, I believe. And then you have 2 houses coming in at 500 credits or $5. And this Winterfrost Plus edition for 600 credits or $6. Now, what I find interesting specifically is this Winterfrost Plus edition, and it makes me wonder, if we look at the Dog of War's other creations, you have a Winterfrost base version for 500 credits and the Plus edition for 600 credits. So it does really make me wonder if we're going to start seeing, it's very reminiscent, if anybody remembers the early versions of the App Store, like first generation iPod Touch, you go to the App Store, start off with people just doing things. Some people here and there would charge money for what the developers had made on that App Store, and then you started seeing the light versions where you had the premium paid version that came with everything and the light version that had the small section, and those were separate. And then if you look even further, you would start having what we get now with it, where just everything is basically a freemium or a pay to win experience. Not saying that content mod makers will go in that same direction. In fact, I find that really hard to believe that that will happen. But of course, I'm sure we will see instances of that throughout the Creation Club store. And I am curious as to how that might reflect on Bethesda. Because people will obviously point to them first and foremost before they go say, well, the mod maker was actually the one who made that decision. All in all, this is the best iteration of a paid mod system that I think we will likely see from Bethesda. It definitely has the potential to be set up in the right direction. It has the potential for some healthy competition. We can actually start to see those DLC-sized mods come to fruition using this system, as opposed to what we had before. It's not going to be the death of free mods, and it's not going to require you to update your save game every single time or update your Skyrim game every single time someone has a cool mod that they release on the marketplace. So I would look forward to seeing the types of creations. I imagine most of them probably aren't going to be worth many people's time, admittedly speaking, unless you're really passionate about seeing all the things that Skyrim has to offer. But when those hidden gems do come through, if we do see creations like, for example, Legacy of the Dragonborn, which is what I think one of the best mods that I've personally played, when those do happen, cannot wait to see it and support it in this way. So I look forward to seeing more from this system. Of course, it's going to be implemented into Starfield, probably the Elder Scrolls 6. Interestingly enough, based on what Juice had said in one of his comments, in a reply to one of his comments, not in Fallout 4's next generation update, which I thought was pretty interesting, but that remains to be seen how valid that might be. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I hope to see you all next time. So long, everybody.